Hi there, you. It's me, Jimmy, in my house again, which is now kind of our house, but don't come try to live in it. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of a young man. By the way, when we met, what year was it? 1994, I think?
1994,
yeah. You were hosting a show on public access television, and you would help people with their construction project.
Behind Jimmy Kimmel's late-night television success lies a mansion built on controversy. From racist impersonations...
My body is my temple. That's why I start every morning with a brisk aerobic workout. But I can't do it alone.
...to career-threatening cancellations.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid, Charlie Kirk, as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Jimmy Kimmel's journey from comedy clubs to his $8.2 million Hollywood Hills estate has been paved with apologies and regret.
Jimmy Kimmel is apologizing today for wearing blackface back in the 90s, a decision he now says was a mistake.
The man who once commanded millions of viewers now fights daily to keep his empire from crumbling beneath the weight of his past mistakes. Jimmy Kimmel's career has been shadowed by a dark secret that refuses to stay buried, no matter how many years pass or how many apologies he offers. During his time hosting The Man Show in the late 1990s and early 2000s, Kimmel regularly performed in blackface, impersonating NBA star Karl Malone and other black celebrities in segments that now seem grotesque and unforgivable. The clips show him darkening his skin with makeup while adopting exaggerated stereotypical speech patterns, performing comedy that relied entirely on the dehumanization of black Americans for its humor.
Sometime at night, Karl Malone look up in the sky and say, "What the hell going on up there?"
His impersonation of Malone became a weekly fixture on The Man Show, transforming one of basketball's greatest players into a racist caricature complete with broken English and buffoonish behavior. Kimmel portrayed the NBA legend as a simpleton who could barely string sentences together, reinforcing harmful stereotypes that had been used to justify discrimination and violence against black Americans for generations. The studio audience laughed and applauded these performances, seemingly oblivious to the profound harm being broadcast into millions of homes across America. The character work went beyond simple impressions into full-blown minstrel show territory, with Kimmel performing elaborate skits that mocked black culture, speech patterns, and intelligence.
My body is my temple. That's why I start every morning with a brisk aerobic workout. But I can't do it alone.
He appeared to relish these performances, mugging for the cameras while delivering punchlines that reduced successful black athletes and entertainers to one-dimensional stereotypes designed solely for white entertainment and comfort. When the footage resurfaced during the 2020 racial justice protests following George Floyd's murder, Kimmel faced a reckoning that many in Hollywood had long expected. The videos spread across social media platforms with devastating speed, forcing him to confront a past that he had hoped would remain buried.
Jimmy Kimmel is apologizing today for wearing blackface back in the 90s, a decision he now says was a mistake.
His public apology acknowledged the harm caused, but stopped short of the complete ownership and accountability that critics demanded, creating the impression that he was more concerned with damage control than genuine remorse. But the blackface performances weren't his only venture into racist content. A 1996 comedy song featuring Kimmel imitating rapper Snoop Dogg included multiple uses of racial slurs delivered with the casual cruelty that characterized much of his early comedy career. The blackface controversy established a pattern that would follow Kimmel throughout his career. Offensive behavior, followed by carefully crafted apologies that seemed more focused on preserving his reputation than demonstrating genuine change. Every subsequent scandal would reference this original sin, creating a foundation of mistrust that his enemies could exploit whenever new controversies emerged, ensuring that no amount of success or celebrity goodwill could ever fully cleanse his reputation. This toxic legacy would prove particularly damaging when combined with the luxury lifestyle that his controversial career had afforded him. The wealth generated by Kimmel's decades of controversial entertainment had built him a real estate empire that now serves as both refuge and prison. High above the chaos that has consumed his career, Jimmy Kimmel's property portfolio stands as a testament to success achieved through the very comedy that would later destroy his reputation. The crown jewel of his holdings sits in the Hollywood Hills, where two neighboring homes create a compound worth over $7 million that has become his sanctuary during each successive scandal.
Hi there, you. It's me, Jimmy, in my house again, which is now kind of our house, but don't come try to live in it.
The first mansion, purchased in 2008 for $6 million, sprawls across 4,800 square feet with 5 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. Its floor-to-ceiling windows offer panoramic views of Los Angeles, the same city that celebrated his rise to fame, but has now become the epicenter of his public downfall. The modern architecture and expensive finishes reflect the calculated precision of a man who built his career on perfect timing and image control. But the empty rooms now echo with the absence of the Hollywood elite who once filled them during better times. Adjacent to this main residence sits his smaller retreat, acquired in 2010 for $1.1 million. This 3,000 square foot property with 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms became his private escape within an escape. The place where he could retreat when even his main mansion felt too exposed to the world's judgment. The home's more intimate scale was designed for quiet reflection and family time, but now serves as a hiding place from the consequences of choices that have systematically destroyed his reputation. An hour south along the Pacific Coast Highway, Kimmel maintains his Hermosa Beach Sanctuary, a sun-drenched 4-bedroom home purchased over a decade ago for $2.175 million. The 2,200 square foot coastal property features granite countertops, Viking appliances, and sea glass tiled bathrooms that create an atmosphere of casual luxury just blocks from the Pacific Ocean. The property was marketed as offering the true South Bay lifestyle, complete with beach access and coastal living, but now serves as another expensive refuge from public scrutiny. The most extravagant addition to his real estate portfolio came in 2017 with the purchase of an $8 million custom-built oceanfront compound in Hermosa Beach. This sprawling 2-story estate merges 2 houses into one massive residence, complete with sweeping ocean views and a sleek rectangular pool that once hosted elaborate parties for Hollywood's elite. The modern design and premium location were meant to signal his arrival at the absolute peak of entertainment success. But the empty pool and unused entertainment spaces now serve as reminders of how quickly that success can evaporate. These luxury homes, purchased with money earned through the same controversial comedy that would later bring him down, have transformed from symbols of achievement into expensive fortresses under siege whenever his past catches up with him. The properties that once represented his triumph over humble beginnings now serve as gilded cages where he hides from the consequences of decades of problematic choices, including his most internationally damaging mistake. The comfort of his luxury lifestyle would be threatened by an incident that revealed just how expensive his poor judgment could become. October the 16th, 2013 began as another routine taping day at Jimmy Kimmel Live. But a segment designed to be lighthearted fun with children would transform into one of the most internationally damaging controversies in late-night television history. The segment, called Kids' Table, featured young children offering their solutions to complex political problems, including America's massive national debt to China. When a 6-year-old guest innocently suggested killing all the people in China to eliminate the debt, Kimmel's response would create an international incident that cost his network millions of dollars and damaged American diplomatic relationships across Asia. Instead of immediately correcting the child or explaining why such thinking was wrong, Kimmel responded with apparent amusement, calling the suggestion an interesting idea and allowing the conversation to continue without any indication that genocide was morally unacceptable. His reaction suggested either complete tone deafness to the implications of the comment or a willingness to find humor in mass when it targeted Asian populations, neither of which reflected well on his judgment or character.
America owes China a lot of money, $1.3 trillion. How should we pay them back?
Shoot Kane and drive the way over and kill everyone in China.
everyone in China.
Yes.
Okay, that's an interesting.
The segment aired nationally on ABC without anyone in Kimmel's production team recognizing the potential explosive implications. Multiple editors and producers had opportunities to remove the offensive exchange during the post-production process, but chose to broadcast it to millions of viewers, suggesting a systemic failure of judgment that extended far beyond Kimmel's initial reaction in the studio. Within days of the broadcast, Chinese-American communities across the United States exploded in outrage that transcended typical celebrity controversy to become a genuine civil rights issue.
More than 1,000 people gathered to protest outside of ABC's Burbank studios over the weekend. Their target, Jimmy Kimmel. They were protesting comments made in a skit on the comedian's late-night show last month.
Kimmel's eventual apology, delivered 3 weeks after the initial broadcast, was widely criticized as too little, too late, and insufficient to address the profound harm caused by suggesting that genocide could be an acceptable solution to economic disputes. The incident established him as someone whose casual racism could cost corporations millions while damaging America's international relationships, a reputation that would follow him into his next major controversy involving another tragedy he would mishandle. The mounting controversies and Kimmel's evolution into a more divisive figure began to strain even his most important personal relationships, including the partnership that had launched his television career. For over a decade, Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla had been inseparable comedy partners and genuine best friends who built their careers together from nothing, starting with their breakthrough success on The Man Show and maintaining their bond even as they took different paths through the entertainment industry.
By the way, when we met, what year was 1994, I think?
1994. Yeah.
You were hosting a show on public access television, and you would help people with their construction project.
Their relationship seemed unbreakable, forged in the trenches of late-night television production and strengthened by shared experiences that only they could understand. But their friendship would eventually become another casualty of Kimmel's transformation into a controversial figure. The deterioration began slowly and subtly, with small disagreements about comedy and approach that gradually grew into fundamental differences about the direction of their careers and the responsibilities that came with their platforms. Carolla, who maintained more libertarian viewpoints and preferred comedy that avoided heavy messaging, watched his former partner evolve into someone he no longer recognized or respected, as Kimmel embraced increasingly partisan commentary that seemed to consume his comedic identity.
It was never something that anybody ever really needed to talk about. It was always the most boring thing you could talk about would be politics,
Right.
you know, back in the day.
Their professional relationship had been built on a shared sense of humor that found comedy and absurdity without needing to advance agendas or lecture audiences about social issues. The Man Show had succeeded precisely because it avoided the kind of preachy content that Kimmel would later embrace, focusing instead on entertainment that didn't require viewers to share the host's beliefs to enjoy the comedy. But that collaborative approach became impossible as Kimmel's priorities shifted toward using his platform for advocacy rather than pure entertainment. The accumulated weight of Kimmel's controversies finally reached a breaking point that would fundamentally change his career in the entire late-night television landscape. September 17th, 2025 will be remembered as the day that changed everything for Jimmy Kimmel and potentially for the entire entertainment industry. The monologue that night was supposed to address the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, a tragedy that had shocked the political world regardless of partisan differences. Kimmel's comments about the MAGA gang and their response to Kirk's death crossed lines that he had somehow avoided crossing in the previous political segments.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political.
The immediate reaction was unlike anything Kimmel had experienced before. Social media exploded with criticism, not just from conservative commentators, but from moderate viewers who felt that Kimmel had used a tragedy to score political points. The hashtag demanding his firing trended nationally within hours of the show's broadcast. The aftermath revealed the complete vulnerability of broadcast television to to outside pressure through federal licensing requirements. The entertainment industry's response was swift but carefully calculated, as fellow performers and industry leaders offered support that avoided criticizing Disney's decision directly while expressing general concerns about free speech and artistic expression. The measured nature of their responses revealed how thoroughly the suspension had intimidated other entertainers who suddenly realized that no amount of success or popularity could protect them from similar treatment if their content displeased the wrong people. This fear would soon manifest in an unprecedented show of industry solidarity. The shock of seeing one of their own so completely abandoned by his network prompted Hollywood's elite to mobilize in what appeared to be an unprecedented show of solidarity, but was actually a carefully orchestrated campaign of strategic self-preservation disguised as principled moral courage.
Over 400 Hollywood stars, including Jennifer Aniston, Tom Hanks, and Meryl Streep, have signed an open letter by the American Civil Liberties Union, condemning Disney's suspension of Jimmy Kimmel Live and supporting free speech.
As Jimmy Kimmel's career hung by a thread following his suspension, the American Civil Liberties Union organized an open letter that would eventually gather over 400 signatures from entertainment's biggest names, but the document was crafted with surgical precision to defend abstract principles while avoiding any direct criticism of Disney or the specific business decisions that had led to Kimmel's professional exile. Jennifer Aniston's prominent signature lent immediate credibility to what would become a massive industry statement, while Meryl Streep's participation added the gravitas that came with her decades of respected performances and awards recognition. Robert De Niro joined a cause that positioned defending Kimmel as defending constitutional principles themselves, though his signature carried no personal risk since his career was largely independent of broadcast television licensing requirements. Tom Hanks, Selena Gomez, Billy Crystal, Jane Fonda, and Jason Bateman all added their names to the document, but their participation was notably risk-free since none of them depended on Disney for their primary income or faced potential regulatory retaliation for their public positions. Their support was genuine, but essentially costless, allowing them to appear principled without sacrificing any meaningful business relationships or financial opportunities. The most revealing signatures came from celebrities who maintained active business relationships with Disney while publicly challenging the company's decision. Pedro Pascal's participation was particularly ironic since he was simultaneously starring in Disney's Mandalorian franchise while signing a letter that indirectly criticized his employer's handling of the Kimmel situation, though his contract protections made his gesture largely symbolic rather than genuinely risky. Lin-Manuel Miranda, whose Hamilton had generated hundreds of millions in revenue for Disney, signed the letter along with other Disney-affiliated stars like Martin Short and Selena Gomez from Only in the Building. Their participation sent a message that they weren't afraid to stand up to their employer when constitutional principles were at stake. But industry insiders understood that Disney needed their projects more than they needed Disney's approval, making their defiance a calculated move that enhanced their reputations without threatening their careers. The timing of the letter's release, just one day before ABC announced Kimmel's return to the air, suggested that the celebrity pressure campaign may have influenced Disney's decision to end the suspension after exactly 1 week. However, the damage to Kimmel's reputation and earning potential had already been done, as major television station groups maintained their boycotts and advertisers remained hesitant to associate with his controversial brand. The celebrity mobilization revealed Hollywood's fundamental vulnerability to outside pressure and their desperation to maintain the illusion of artistic independence while operating within an increasingly hostile business environment. Their support for Kimmel was less about defending his specific comments than protecting their own ability to express controversial opinions without facing career-ending consequences. But the battle for Kimmel's professional survival was far from over. The indefinite suspension of Jimmy Kimmel Live created immediate financial consequences that rippled through multiple layers of the entertainment industry, affecting everyone from Kimmel himself to the crew members who depended on the show for their livelihoods. The mathematics of television economics meant that even a short suspension represented millions of dollars in lost revenue. Kimmel's personal financial situation while cushioned by years of high earnings, still faced significant pressure from the suspension. His ABC contract guaranteed payment during short-term interruptions, but indefinite suspension created legal gray areas that his representatives were scrambling to clarify. The uncertainty about his future earnings affected everything from mortgage payments to staff salaries. The show's production crew faced immediate unemployment with no clear timeline for return to work. Camera operators, sound technicians, writers, and producers who had built their careers around Jimmy Kimmel Live suddenly found themselves filing for unemployment benefits while hoping for a quick resolution to the crisis. Advertising partners face their own difficult decisions about whether to continue their financial commitments to a show that wasn't airing and might never return. Major brands that had spent millions on commercial time during Jimmy Kimmel Live needed to redirect their late-night advertising budgets to competing shows, creating unexpected windfalls for Fallon and Colbert. The suspension's financial impact extended to ABC's affiliate stations, many of which relied on Jimmy Kimmel Live for late-night advertising revenue. Local stations that had built their schedules around the show's audience now faced programming holes that were expensive to fill with syndicated content or local productions. Behind closed doors, Jimmy Kimmel's representatives were working frantically to develop a strategy for his return to television that would satisfy network executives, advertisers, and audiences who had turned against him. The challenge was unprecedented in late-night television history: how to rehabilitate a host whose political commentary had crossed lines that seemed increasingly difficult to defend. The involvement of FCC Chairman Brendan Carr in the Jimmy Kimmel controversy represented something unprecedented in modern broadcast television. Direct government pressure on content decisions that had traditionally been left to network executives and market forces. The implications extended far beyond one comedian's career to fundamental questions about free speech and regulatory overreach. Carr's statement about ABC's broadcast license being at risk sent shock waves through the entire television industry. Broadcast licenses are the foundation of network television economics, and threats to those licenses represented existential risks that no corporation could ignore. The regulatory weapon that had rarely been used was suddenly being deployed against political commentary. Democratic politicians immediately recognized the broader implications of government officials threatening broadcast licenses over content decisions. Former President Obama's statement about cancel culture represented a rare intervention by a former president in entertainment industry politics, suggesting that the stakes had risen beyond typical media controversies. Constitutional scholars began analyzing the legal implications of using regulatory authority to influence editorial decisions by broadcast networks. The First Amendment protections that covered print media and cable television were less clear when applied to broadcast television, which operated under different regulatory frameworks. The entertainment industry's response to government pressure revealed deep concerns about the precedent being set for future content decisions. If regulators could pressure networks over late-night comedy, the implications for news programming, documentary content, and scripted entertainment could be enormous. September 23, 2025, marked Jimmy Kimmel's return to television after 6 days that felt like 6 months for everyone involved in the crisis. The anticipation surrounding his comeback show created audience interest that hadn't existed since the early days of his career, though much of that interest was motivated by curiosity about his contrition rather than enthusiasm for his comedy.
But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of a young man.
The ratings for Kimmel's return episode exceeded expectations, with 6.2 million television viewers and record-breaking YouTube views for his monologue. But rating success didn't necessarily translate to long-term stability, particularly if advertiser support remained weak or if new controversies emerged. As 2025 draws to a close, the full scope of Jimmy Kimmel's transformation from beloved entertainer to industry pariah becomes painfully clear in every aspect of his diminished existence. He sits alone in his $8.2 million Hollywood Hills mansion, surrounded by the trappings of success that now feel like artifacts from someone else's life. The floor-to-ceiling windows that once framed his triumph now offer views of a city that has moved on without him, while his estimated $50 million fortune serves as a countdown clock ticking toward an increasingly uncertain future, defined by mortgage payments, legal fees, and the crushing weight of maintaining an empire built on a career that may never recover from the accumulated damage of decades of controversial choices. The 4 luxury properties scattered across Southern California stand as monuments to a trajectory that reached extraordinary heights before crashing into the harsh reality of consequences that no amount of wealth could cushion. Property records showing nearly $7 million in mortgage debt against assets that may never recover their pre-controversy values tell the story of a man who had leveraged success to build a real estate empire that now feels more like a collection of expensive prisons than symbols of achievement. His awards and accolades line office walls like tombstones, marking the death of his former reputation. The Emmy nominations for Outstanding Variety Talk Series, the Hollywood Walk of Fame star he received in 2023, and countless industry honors mock him with memories of better times, when his biggest worry was crafting the perfect monologue rather than avoiding career-ending disasters that could destroy not just his own future, but the livelihoods of hundreds of people whose careers had become entangled with his toxic brand. The suspension that lasted just 6 days has created damage that may persist for years or decades, revealing how quickly success can evaporate when built on a foundation of controversial content and poor judgment. Major affiliates continue refusing to air his show even after his return. Advertisers remain hesitant to associate with his brand, and fellow entertainers maintain careful distance from someone whose toxic reputation could contaminate their own careers through mere association. The psychological toll of maintaining a public persona while facing private destruction has begun showing in every aspect of his performance and personal life. Friends describe a man consumed by monitoring news coverage and social media reactions, obsessively tracking every mention of his name while calculating the potential for new controversies that could finish what his previous scandal started. The spontaneity that once defined his comedy has been replaced by careful calculation that drains the energy from his performances and leaves audiences sensing the desperation beneath his familiar smile. In quiet moments between the cameras and crowds, when the makeup comes off and the audience goes home, Jimmy Kimmel confronts the man he has become. The entertainer who once brought joy to millions through decades of late-night television now struggles to find humor in his own situation, trapped in a cycle of controversy and consequence that has defined his legacy more powerfully than any joke he ever told or any celebrity he ever interviewed. The blackface performances, the racist songs, the international incidents, the mock tragedies, the destroyed friendships, and the professional exile have combined to create a portrait of a career built on a foundation that was always destined to crumble. The house may be worth millions and the bank accounts may still show impressive numbers, but the man inside has paid a price that no amount of money can ever repay. His empire of luxury homes has become a collection of gilded cages, where he waits to discover whether his career will survive long enough to justify the mortgages that financed his dreams of permanent success in an industry that has proven anything but permanent for someone whose controversies finally caught up with him. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.